Let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris, who's been on top of all of this for us. Misty, any big revelations from the officer's testimony today?
Yeah, Chrissy Wasser is a critical witness here because she's the one that actually opens the backpack and discovers items inside of it while at that McDonald's. I would say the biggest revelation, Gotti, in the testimony, there is 10 minutes of body cam footage which is missing in between leaving that McDonald's and getting back to the police precinct and conducting a search of the bag, where ultimately the gun that we've just seen new images of is found. This was clearly something the defense was focused on, at pointing out that vulnerability in the prosecution's argument to say, where is this 10 minutes? And really trying to put a shroud of questions into the judge's mind about what happened during that time and whether or not it was constitutional.
And Misty, we're seeing this evidence. We're seeing the gun, the 3D printed gun now with the silencer as well. It does seem like for a motion suppression hearing, like we're seeing a whole lot of evidence that not just us in the media are seeing, but like the public is seeing. Obviously, pretrial publicity is a huge concern going into this. Is there a strategy here?
So this hearing, the defense made a lot of arguments going into the hearing and during the hearing to shield some of what would be presented as evidence and is relevant to the constitutional questions at issue from public view. So basically, all of this stuff would come into the courtroom. The judge would see it. Those who are actually there at the hearing would see it, but it would not be released en masse to the public. Now, the judge has allowed all of these exhibits to come out into the public sphere. And this is based on challenges, Gotti, from media organizations talking about the transparency of the legal system. This is a case of intense public interest. So now we're seeing all of these exhibits being released in dribs and drabs, as you said, as the hearing continues. But I will say this hearing, way more intricate, a lot more witnesses, a lot more evidence being presented than you typically see in these types of very, very typical suppression hearings.
Yeah, and this drip of all the evidence that we're seeing, do you think that that is going to play a factor in some of the argument about pretrial publicity going forward?
Certainly, and part of the defense argument in general with respect to this New York case, as well as the federal case and the case pending in Pennsylvania relating to possession of a weapon and forged ID, the overall defense argument is that Luigi Mangione has been subjected to such intense publicity that the jury pool is forever tainted. So these are issues that are not only going to play into defense strategy, going into jury selection for all of these cases, but they will also be appellate issues, and they're being raised by the defense at every turn. So the pretrial publicity is certainly an element that the defense is focused on, and it's something that both sides are going to have to combat when it comes down to jury selection.
And all this stuff is breaking right before we came to the show. If we can pull up the picture of the silencer here, this is something that we haven't seen in the past. Misty, I want to get your take on seeing images like the silencer, like this survival kit, like the 3D printed handgun. What does that do?
Well, all of that is going to link back to the means and manner of the killing of Brian Thompson, which prosecutors say comes back to Luigi Mangione. And why is all of this so relevant? Well, we know that there is video footage in New York City of that morning. Now we have all of these items being found on Luigi Mangione's person 5 days later in this McDonald's, one of those critical items being the alleged murder weapon, the gun. But in addition to that, Gotti, so now you're making links between what happened in New York and to what was found in a backpack in his possession. That is huge for prosecutors. But now you have the notebook, the survival kit. You have a to-do list. You have the phone in a bag that is shielding the phone from pinging cell phone towers. You have all of these things that tend to show that he's on the run, that this was premeditated, planned, and now we're at the getaway stage. So all of this is going to be part of the prosecutor's narrative when we get into the trial. And again, you got to link the crime scene to Luigi Mangione, and so much of that was found in this backpack, and it's why prosecutors are putting 27 witnesses on the stand to try and preserve this evidence and answer constitutional questions for the judge.
27 witnesses. Misty Marris, really appreciate your insight. Thank you.